Hey, how you doing, YouTube? This is your boy Brogi Naric back again with another episode of TV Aftermath. And in this video, I'm going to be giving my non-spoiler review of Bojack Horseman Season 6, Part 1. And if you don't want spoilers, check out the non-spoiler review on my Instagram page. It's on my IGTV. You can check that out there if you want non-spoilers. But for now, I'm going to get into spoilers. Of course, spoilers for this season and spoilers for previous seasons. But before I get into it, I'm going to give you my grade for Bojack Horseman Season 6, Part 1. And if I would give a grade for Bojack Horseman Season 6, Part 1, my grade would be a B+, an 8.5 out of 10. Alright, that was my grade. Like I said, very good, solid. It's not, quality stayed the same, but, that halfway, it leads, like I said, the show leads to a good cliffhanger ending, which I can't wait for the second part when that drops at the end of January next year. So, let's see, things to get into. Bojack. Bojack is in some serious trouble because this whole season is basically, he struggles at the beginning, he struggles with rehab, and the fact that he continues to stay in rehab because he didn't use his rehab as a crutch because he doesn't think he can be sober without it. So, I think he was there for 6 months, and then he ends up staying another 3 months, then another 3 months, and of course, the revelation of how the people he loves, he tends to hurt, whether he inadvertently ends up hurting everyone that he loves that's around him because of the environment he was raised in. The other horse at the rehab tells him that, and that was also interesting the way the horse, Dr. Champ, pointed out that Bojack has a deep resentment, a self-hatred of horses because of the two horses that raised him made him hate other horses. He's like, you don't hang around the other horses. And the people, it was kind of interesting, that whole aspect about Bojack. And he's like, and the only other horse you love is your half sister, and you try your best to not ruin her life by staying away from her, which was very deep stuff. But also, like I said, his other demons, the people he's screwed over, whether it be the stuff with the girl Penny, the stuff with the director, the stuff with what's her name, Gina, his co-worker, his co-star from the last show he was on, and how all of that stuff is bubbling up. Very interesting how that was handled. Princess Carolyn, my favorite character on this show, and Amy Sedaris does a great job. And I like the whole, her, the usual stuff, her struggling with her personal life and her work life. But this time there's a baby involved, and the little baby had no name. What was it? I think it was Unnamed Princess Carolyn Project, who later became Ruthie. And the baby was cute and dangerous though, because it's porcupine. But and I love the relationship that Todd has with the baby, about him becoming the new nanny, or he's like the best nanny ever for this porcupine baby, and how Todd he needs an assistant so he can do all his other stuff, and then how that reflects on that little side thing with the assistants union that Bojack inadvertently starts. And how Princess Carolyn uses her being in that role to try to help the next generation. Why she's like, well, I could be the part of the old heads and screw over the younger kids being the assistants, or I can help them out, which she does when she gets her old assistant to help them out as their representation. Nice little stuff there. And the whole city is the whole Hollywood city is just destroyed because they have no assistants, so they can't do anything. I thought that was really good. Mr. Peanut Butter and his stupid gift card movie, Birthday Dad, and how that fails, and then of course Princess Carolyn, finesses it into a TV show, but also the stuff with him and Pickles, which, as I said in my non-spoiler review, my favorite episode is episode 4, Surprise, where Pickles is his fiance, and he's still struggling with the fact that he cheated on her twice with Diane last season, which would be months ago, and he waits until he sets up a surprise party, or maybe he forgot he set up the surprise party, and not the surprise party, it was a surprise wedding. That was the thing, because he wasn't sure when they could do the wedding, so he was like, I'm going to make a surprise wedding, and I think Todd set it up, and they were coming back home, and then while everyone's hiding, he then tells her that he cheated on her, and then everyone's still hiding, trying to avoid getting involved in this whole fight where they're just going around the house fighting because she's crying and she's on her live chat telling everybody that he cheated on her, And that was a really tense moment, but funny, especially the bits where they're like all talking shit about, like, he's talking shit about her parents, which John Witherspoon, who recently passed, does the voice of her father. And he's talking about how the father has a anger problem, and the mom encourages it because they kind of get off on it, and then she's talking about his sister and his wife, and how his wife should divorce the brother, not his sister, his brother and the brother's wife, and how they should divorce each other. And it was kind of funny how they're just shitting on everybody, but everybody's also trying to hide out. And Diane, Bojack's, out of rehab, and he's trying to talk to Diane, and Diane's trying to talk to him because she's doing her whole thing. Diane being a reporter, what was it, Girl Crush? She's doing a reporter, but she's also being like very investigative, hard-hitting investigative reporting, and she's trying to deal with this corporation called White Whale, which is basically just a big conglomerate that's been buying up everything, and it's run by this old white whale that's rich. I think he was voiced by Stephen Root from King of the Hill, Bill Dotrieve from King of the Hill. And she also starts dating her camera guy named Guy, who's a Buffalo from Chicago, and he was voiced by Keith Stanfield, who was a nice character. I really liked him. I was afraid that he was going to turn out to be an asshole, but I liked that he was cool. And their whole situationship, and how he's got a kid, and he's kind of, he didn't want her to leave from Chicago. He wanted her to stay, but she goes back for like a little bit, and then she ultimately decides to go back to Chicago, but she's like depressed while she's in Chicago, and she's trying to write a book and all this weird sad stuff. But then eventually she sticks it out. She goes to the doctor, she gets some medicine, which has a side effect where she gains weight. So when you see her at the last episode of the season, she's like heavier, but it means she took the medication so she could be better, which was a nice touch. And the whole, that was the funny thing. The whole thing with the white whale, when they was doing a report to expose him that he had this guy killed at one of his factories, and then he brings him to the office, and he's like, if you guys would have released this information that I had somebody killed, it's cool because it's legal now. And they're like, what do you mean it's legal? And then he shows he shows them on the news that the president just made it legal for billionaires to murder people. And she's like, that can't be true. And he's like, oh, think about it. With these politicians, he's like, but still, it can't be. And he's like, with this Congress, and he's like, yo, it can't be. The president would never sign. He's like, really, with this president? And she's like, okay, yeah, I guess I can see that happen. So I thought that was hilarious that the billionaires can legally murder people. And he's just like, hey, look, if you want to release it, I don't care. If I want you gone, I can get rid of you. It is no problem because it's legal there. I was like, that's so dark. And like, we're probably like 15 years away from some shit like that actually being legal. That was the other thread that was from the beginning of the season to the second part, to the end of this first part, was Bojack is guilty because he didn't tell the truth of what happened with Sarah Lynn. Which you remember Sarah Lynn, who was the actress that was on the show with him, and then they went on a bender, and shit got weird, and then she OD'd. He didn't tell the police that he was with her, getting high with her for like a couple of weeks, and he only told the police that he came to the planetarium, and he showed up, and she just happened to be dead. So that's biting at him. And then in the last episode, the mom is trying to figure out what happened because she knows that there's certain parts of that story that doesn't add up. And so the mom talks to these two reporters. It's a pig and like a fat guy, and they got like this weird 1940s vibe, but they're the investigative reporters. They're trying to figure out what happened. And that was kind of a random thing, but in terms of those characters, but I like how their investigation eventually leads them to New Mexico, which of course leads into the stuff that happened with the girl, the dear girl Penny, where Bojack almost, had sex with that underage girl who was the daughter of the woman he had a crush on, which is, like I said, weird, dark stuff. But then there's also the other stuff with Bojack. He goes into his mind about how his alcohol addiction started, where it's like they showed him back when he was on horsing around, and he got drunk with the hairstylist, who later they leave a bottle of vodka in a water bottle. Sarah Lynn drinks it, she gets sick, and then they have to fire someone, and Bojack lets them fire the hairstylist, even though it was both of their faults, him and her fault, but he lets her take the fall for it. There's a moment when he's a teenager, and he's getting drunk at a party, and then he becomes an asshole. Then there's a moment where he's a kid, or like a younger, like a preteen, and he's working with his dad. He walks in on his dad about to sleep with his secretary, and then his father gives him some alcohol and tries to make him forget about it. And then you see the first time he really had alcohol, which was when he was like a little kid. He was probably about 5 or 4, and his parents I think they were trying to do something for a party, but they passed out, and there was a bottle of vodka, and he just had a little bit of it. So it's like you see he's had this, problems when alcohol would come in through his life, which was very interesting to see. But the what was the other thing? So yeah, that was this deep stuff, and I want to talk on the Todd stuff. Yeah, so Todd, he becomes the babysitter, and he's doing his thing. His dad comes in and he's like, "Hey, I need your help. Your mom is sick. She's in a coma." And Todd doesn't want to. At first, he doesn't want to hear it because he doesn't fuck with his parents. His parents kicked him out, and he's been homeless since about 10 years ago. Because Todd's like my age. He's like 25. So, there's tension with him and his dad, who is, that's where the Chavez comes from, because his dad is Mexican. And Todd, it's like, well, I already sold my kidney, so we got to go back and get my kidney, and then the kidney is now sold to White Whale's company, because White Whale company is now harvesting all these organs. So then they have to fly to Chicago, which Dad didn't want to do. But Todd's like, no, we just fly to Chicago, we'll break into the building, and we'll get my kidney back, which they do. But then there's the moment when the security guard comes back, and the security guard thinks that Todd's dad is up to no good, but he's okay with Todd, because then they bring up this thing that Todd's dad was rough on him. He wanted him to be good in life and be prepared for the toughness of life, because life is not going to be easy for you. But then at that moment when the security guard was more prejudiced to the dad and not to Todd, he realized, like, oh, I guess you'll be all right because you're white. Because Todd is half Mexican or whatever, or half Hispanic, but he looks like a white kid, so he's like, you'll be fine. I thought that was kind of a funny resolution to that situation. But he also was upset with the mom, because the mom didn't talk to him either. So he's like, why didn't she try to contact me? And he's like, well, your mom is kind of proud, and she doesn't want to admit her wrong. So if you would have talked to her, she would have talked to you. Which leads to a moment where he gets a text from his mom, or he gets a call from his mom, and he was about to answer, but then he gets he's got that whole thing with the app, and he gets a match on his Asexuals app, and he was more interested in that. So I want to see where that goes with that little bunny character, because she seems cool. She seems cool. And so, yeah, that leads to the last episode, episode 8, where it focuses on these, like I said, all of Bojack's past demons starting to come together. Like the lady director that he got fired from the Secretariat movie. She's struggling because she's this really good director, but now she's doing these weird commercials, and she ends up getting this job to direct a female superhero movie called Fire Flame, which is basically like a joke on the Wonder Woman movie. She's basically kind of like, in a way, Patty Jenkins, and she's getting this job. And then we also see Gina, who was his co-star from the Filbert show that he assaulted on set when he snapped and he started choking her. And you can see how her career's gotten better, but she's still dealing with that trauma and there's a whole moment where she's doing a scene with her actor, and he dips her down, and his hand is on the back of her neck, and she like freaks out, and that affects her, and then that's also affecting her career, because the friend of the director was like, hey, can you, what about hiring her? And he's like, don't hire her, she's problematic. And like I said, the 2 reporters end up going to New Mexico, and they're trying to track down, because it was a guy who remembered the girl's name, which is Penny Carson, and then also Hollyhock, which I forgot. Bojack decides to leave L.A. and go to Connecticut, where Hollyhock is, to be a professor of acting at her school, because the actor had left. So he gets that job. Hollyhock goes down to Manhattan with her friend, and they go to this party. And conveniently at this party, she bumps into this, I forget the black kid's name, but he is the same kid that was friends with Penny back when they was in high school, that remembers that night where Bojack was with them and they got drunk. And he's about to tell her who was the name of that old actor that was out there with them, and things got weird, and that's when the show ends. And I thought that was a great cliffhanger, especially for Hollyhock, because you know Bojack. She knows Bojack is a mess, but she doesn't know how much of a mess he is. Like she loves this guy, but I think when she hears this situation, it's really gonna mess up their relationship, especially with that, the stuff with Gina, the stuff with Sarah Lynn, and the stuff with the director that could potentially come out as bad too. It's like it's about to all come out. So I don't know how this season's gonna end. Also, yeah, Bojack, you find out he's been dyeing his hair, so now his hair is actually gray, and so his hair is gray. He's trying to change his life, but his demon's about to come up and kick him in the ass. And I can't wait to see how the season ends. I don't know if he's gonna die. I don't know if he's gonna end in prison. I don't know where it's gonna go, but it's gonna be sad. I know that much. And that's pretty much the main things that happened in BoJack Horseman season 6, part 1. Really loved it. Love this show. Can't wait to see how this ends. Hopefully we're gonna get another 8 episodes in January, and I'm gonna be right there to do another review of it. So that's my spoiler review of BoJack Horseman season 6, part 1. If you liked it, give this video a like. Check out other reviews and videos on this channel. Give this video a subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. We're still growing, and we can use the help. And that's pretty much all I have for this. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. Peace.